Colin Hurd, thank you so much for coming on the Edison Podcast. I appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, thanks so much. Really excited about sharing what I know here today.
All right. Well, first question I want to get into is for most people. I've interviewed a bunch of people, and people think that everybody gets into business is because of trauma, whether it was a job loss or something else. How did you get into entrepreneurship?
It was pretty much just luck and serendipity. I was at my dad's 50th birthday party, and a guy there, I was going to graduate from college in 6 months, and I had no idea what I was going to do. And he had an idea. He already had a small business. He had another idea for a different small business that he wanted me to start running. And I said, yeah, sounds good. So a week after I graduated from college, I started my first business, and I've never created a resume since.
What was that first business?
It was started off as a direct mail data processing business. So that was back in 95. And then in 99, we started to do email marketing and web design and custom development. And then I ended up selling that company in 2006. And in 2007 is when I started my new adventure.
Okay. Well, back in the 90s, I was a direct mail king out of San Diego for the mortgage industry. I helped create that industry, created the, not the pieces in the industry and I did so well with it. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but people would steal my copy. And then I would get mad, but then I would change it and make it better. And then I started putting certain words that weren't really words and departments to see who's stealing my stuff and have proof that they stole my stuff.
I love it. Yeah. Well, it's even easier now, right? We were talking about AI offline there, and it's even easier now to copy and change stuff up than it was back then. So,
yeah. Dude, you can write books. What are you talking about? You can do everything now through Chat GPT. I wrote my first book, had ghostwriter, because I'm great at talking because I'm in sales forever. But I need somebody else to help me put it down because that was not what I'm good at. And then I had it scan my book and help me write one for veterans. And it's still my words, but it's just helped me so much easier. So it was my ghostwriter for my second book.
Yeah. Love that. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's all about.
It won't just create it for you. You can't just say, create me a book. It'll say, yes, I will. And then 3 weeks later, it still wouldn't do it for you. You really have to know what you're talking about. So.
Absolutely. Yep. You can't fake it.
All right. So during that first company, the business, how was the trauma? Things changed a lot. It got very expensive for direct mail after the 90s and the 2000s. I think that's probably why you guys went more email and direct marketing and other stuff. But what was was there any major failures during that period of time for you? Because you just get out of college, so you really don't know how to run a company.
No, I graduated with a criminal justice degree, so I never took a business accounting or marketing class in college. I had no idea I was going to be in business or be an entrepreneur. So I learned it all trial by fire. Yep. Yeah, it was just, it was crazy, but I was like a sponge. I was 22 years old and I was soaking everything in, and I, started doing cold calling and sending out our own direct mail and just built the business up over time. So as far as like big failures,
it doesn't have to be big. Just, people need to know, because people think that most companies are overnight successes, and that's not necessarily how that happens.
Almost
there are
never
exceptions. Yeah, there's exceptions to the rule, but there's a lot less of those.
Yeah, no, totally agree. So, I think, some of the failures that I had was just, I didn't have like a real clear vision of where I wanted to take the company. I was kind of just adapting to changes in technology, which was the right thing to do. But I felt like we were kind of a, jack of all trades, master of none. And we were too thin across too many areas. After doing it a little over a decade, I got burned out and was just ready to sell the business. And, that happened, and that was great. And then I was, ready to move on to my new venture.
So I want to go back to what you said. You had a criminal justice degree.
Yeah.
So did that, not having like formal business education or having anything like that, hurt you going forward? Or you just were like, okay, well, I can learn this. It's not a big deal.
I didn't really think about it. Like, it was kind of necessity that I needed to learn and apply and grow the business. So, I took, some classes through one of them was University of St. Thomas, like a fast track course for small business owners, where you're kind of learning how to do a business plan and learning how to, think about marketing and your balance sheet and P&L and stuff like that. So I learned some of that stuff while I was doing it. But I think that's also a good message for a lot of the aspiring entrepreneurs out there, which is, nobody ever has it all figured out. And, you just, it's at some point, you just have to jump in and do it and learn while you're doing it, because that's the only way you're ever going to really grow a business.
Right. And I'm going to tell you right now, formal education does not teach you how to run a business.
No.
I have my master's degree in international business and marketing, and I'm going to tell you right now, it does not teach you that. And I knew a veteran I know real well. He was talking to me about all the stuff I'm doing through Go High Level and all the different things, and he's like, "Man, they don't teach any of this in school." I go, "Yes, exactly right. They don't teach you any of that stuff. They teach you stuff that they think is important, but they're people who can't teach." Is the old statement, right?
Right. Yeah. People that can't do, teach.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So you're going to come across stuff that you have no idea how to do things, and you're going to have to figure that out along the way. And you need to have mentors, or you need to have some type of person there to help you. Who was your mentor during this period of time, or did you not have?
I would say to a certain degree, the business partner that I had was a little bit of a mentor, because he had been in business, with his own small IT company for, a number of years at that point. But beyond that, that's also probably a fault of mine. And I haven't done a great job surrounding myself with mentors per se. I'm probably more of just like, I'll figure it out. And, for the most part I do, but that probably has caused, some issues and hindrance in the growth over the years. But is what it is.
I just think we don't like asking for help.
Yeah, that's true too.
And that's where you need to, do that. And people think I can just figure it out. And you can. It just takes a lot longer to do it. All right. So you sold this business in 2006 and you started the current business. But prior to this, didn't you have another business?
Well, so Monkey Island Ventures is the company I started in 2007. That's the umbrella company. I started that with Josh and Zach, two buddies of mine. We've all known each other since we were about 5 years old. And Monkey Island's named after a park we used to play at when we were kids, located in St. Paul.
I knew I read something like that.
So. Yep. And Josh had just moved up back into the Twin Cities from Uruguay. His dad's side of the family is Uruguayan. And Zach was just helping transition a children's publishing company into a sale. And so he kind of worked himself out of a job. And so it was just, again, kind of serendipity and luck that I sold my company, and those two were essentially available. And that's what kicked off Monkey Island Ventures. And so, since 2007, we've built a number of businesses, probably close to a dozen SaaS products, most of which, didn't make it. We have a digital marketing company, a software development company, employ about 40 people here in the Twin Cities. And then started Rainmaker, which is what my full-time work has been in since February. So we have those three companies, and those three companies is what pays for our expenses and provides for our families, and gives us kind of a platform for us to continue to create and grow these businesses, as well as other ones that we have planned.
So what is Rainmaker?
So Rainmaker is really a productized service. I've been doing a lot of growth hacking over the last 6-7 years through cold email and LinkedIn. And I was getting really, good results on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is growing massively right now, as it's really the only business social network out there. And in February, I went to my business partners and said, I think I could build a business off of the software and process that I built out for ourselves. And so I launched Rainmaker in February, and have been spending 100% of my time in that now. And really, it's just a platform. It's almost like a white glove SaaS that allows my clients to use LinkedIn in a way that grows their network, their leads, and their sales in a very pragmatic way. So everything I'm doing, anyone can do manually. The features and the functions I'm using are all LinkedIn features and functions, but what I'm doing is just really applying a methodology to that and automation that allows us to leverage the LinkedIn network in a very scalable way. That's also really focused on doing specific things throughout the week. And really what my client focuses then really is just content. So I'm not doing anything on the LinkedIn profile. I'm not doing anything with like organic posts. So that is out of my purview. That is up to them. I'm not a brand guy. I'm not a content guy. But what I will do is help them create audiences in Sales Navigator, and we'll start to leverage those audiences then and build out their network, and then create messaging campaigns, events, and things like that on LinkedIn to actually generate leads and sales. So there's a kind of a 3-level tier around like my philosophy of LinkedIn, audience and audience building, and campaign types that I can talk through that I think would be of high value to you and your audience. But I'll pause here and just see if there's any questions or thoughts you want to interject here.
Yeah, I was about ready to, but you were talking, so I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah,
All
no
right.
worries.
So what's your philosophy on LinkedIn?
Yeah, so the
You
philosophy
said
is
3 things. I want to hit each one of them. So
yeah, yep,
take a pause in between each one. All right.
yeah, absolutely. Well, and feel free to interrupt me too if you want. But as far as philosophy goes, you got to be authentic and genuine. Table stakes. I think most people are. LinkedIn's not a toxic place. So that's, being authentic to yourself, being conversational in tone, being authentic to the brands you represent. The second thing is coming in with an educational mindset, because nobody wants to be sold on LinkedIn. Okay, we all get those spammy messages. We get in-mails. We get, people that as soon as you connect with them, they want to start selling you stuff. That doesn't work. It won't ever work. It doesn't work. So all it does is harm you and your brand. So an educational mindset. The other is an experimentation mindset, which is knowing that you're going to try certain things. You're going to stack the things that are working, and the things that don't work, you're not going to do. And you're going to continue to try new things, because LinkedIn is continuing to add new features and functions over time. And then the last thing is you have to understand what are the pains and the barrier, or the pains and the barriers that really your audience is trying to overcome. You need to know what they want to be educated on. And most importantly, you have to know what they want to learn from you. What can you teach? And if you can figure that out, I think anyone that's in B2B could be really, really successful on LinkedIn. So again, at the high level, it's being authentic and genuine. It's coming in with an educational and experimentation mindset. And finally, it's figuring out what your audience wants to learn from you and what can you teach.
How do you figure that out?
So part of it is like understanding your prospects, right? So for me and Rainmaker, the people that I'm targeting, I know that they want to grow on LinkedIn, okay, but they don't know how. And so what I'm teaching and what I'm going to be talking about on the podcast today is exactly that. I'm teaching people how to use LinkedIn and the right way to do it. Okay. And so some of my clients, like one of them owns a law firm and is breaking into the blockchain industry, right? And is connecting with blockchain founders. And, the way that he's reaching out and connecting with them, he's creating new first connections. And then as he's messaging them, one of the first messages he uses is saying, say something like, "Hey, Ed, I find myself more and more writing about the intersection of law and blockchain, and I'm wondering if there's any topics you'd have interest in me writing about," right? He knows that the laws in the United States have been very kind of anti-blockchain, and these founders don't know what the government's going to do. And that's a really, really hot topic. Okay. So he knows that he's going to get a response from that. And he does. So I think it's incumbent on, each company to understand, what is it that their prospects don't understand about what it is that they can provide, and start educating them on that and helping. And that's really the key.
So, all right. So what I just heard is you're asking these people certain questions, like what I'm a writer. I want to write about certain things. I get hit up constantly on LinkedIn, and it's always I connect, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, do you need sales on blah 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 blah?" No, I don't. That's not why I connect on LinkedIn. I don't need that. I just want to connect on it to connect with other people to see what's going on, and also for podcasting stuff. But the question I have is all right, so now you know this, and then he writes a whole thing and then sends it to him or posts it on LinkedIn, or is that what he does?
Well, those people will respond, right, with like, "Oh, if you could write about this topic, that would be great," right? Or right, what he's immediately establishing himself as a thought leader, someone that understands blockchain and law, and he's beginning a relationship. That's what you're doing. You're starting to create a relationship. And I know for myself and so many, people that sit in the sales seat, we desperately want to close deals, but you have to, really look at your emotion and distance yourself from that feeling of wanting to close, and really connect with, how do I help? How do I assist? How do I provide value to these connections that I'm creating? And so that last level around campaigns, I'll get into some more specific ways of doing that.
Well, I think that's called commission breath. When you hear these people wanting to sell you, that you can hear from the desperation and stuff that
Right.
they try to
Yeah.
sell you something. And I learned when I first got into sales, you have to act like you don't need the business in order to
Exactly. That's right.
succeed. If you
Yep.
act like you need, I don't care how bad you're hurting, you do not let anybody know.
That's
And
right.
I was telling somebody the other day when I first got in the business, people were I learned from somebody, when someone asked you how long you were in the business, you just said, it seems like forever.
Mm-hmm.
I'd only
Mm-hmm.
been in it a month, but
Right.
they're
Yeah.
not going to ask it any further than that,
Yeah. Yep.
right?
Yep.
How long
Yeah.
you been in?
Yeah. I heard somebody else say, like, um, I heard this probably 20 years ago, and somebody said, when someone asks you how you're doing, just say unbelievable, right?
Yeah,
Because it could be unbelievably bad, unbelievably good.
right.
They don't know. Just tell them you're doing unbelievable, right?
Yeah, but
So,
mine was all about, because in certain industries, they want you in a period of time to show that you have knowledge, and if you
sure.
don't have that, then they don't want to talk to you. And it was
Right.
one way to get around that question, and they don't ever do a follow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Agreed. So but that's the main philosophy, is like coming in with a mindset of really wanting to help, and then understanding those pains and barriers, and creating assets and things like that that you can start utilizing in building relationship. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the campaign level. So, any other questions on the philosophy side?
No, no. I'm
Okay.
I'm a question though, just an overall LinkedIn. Should
Yeah.
you be posting on there like you post on other social media posts, like the stuff that you put over there, like stuff that you do, and in the industry, you're not selling to them, but you're just telling them stuff that you do.
Yep. Yeah. No, I think that goes into that experimentation mindset of thinking about, okay, number one, posting on LinkedIn, I think is a good thing. You don't need to do it every day. And what you want to do is really think about, how do you put out content that is valuable, but also humanize yourself, right? And so I think that consists of putting out content that people can benefit from, right? And then, what I mean by that is like assets that you're building, thoughtful content, stuff that's more business driven. The more personal driven stuff is, if you're at a networking event, right? Take a photo of yourself and, a couple other people, call those people out in the LinkedIn post, have those people repost it, and, say that they enjoyed being at this event, right? That only takes a few seconds, and that's just, again, helping to kind of humanize who you are. You're not going to generate any business from that, but it is around awareness building. It is about building relationship. And again, don't spend tons of time doing that. But if you're doing, a couple of posts, a business post and a personal post once a week each, that's fine. You don't need to like go overboard in posting.
So I do lives, multiple through. So I do 5 a day in the morning at 8:30 about real estate and finance, and I go live to LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And then I also do 2 other ones for just veterans, and then I do 2 other ones, which is for sales on there also. Plus, I put content on there. I
Mm-hmm.
don't ever approach anybody through the sections about, building business.
Mm.
But it sounds to me like I'm not doing it well. I got the content stuff down, but it's the other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's certain things that you can do that we'll talk about that are more focused on getting people to opt into your content and allowing you to follow up then with like a Calendly, where you're hopefully starting to book actual meetings with people.
Gotcha.
So,
All
yep,
right.
yep.
All right. So what was the next thing? Because you had
But
3
the
things
next,
in order.
yeah, the next level is audience or audience building, right? And
Mhm.
so typically I'm using Sales Navigator for all the audience building. If my client doesn't have Sales Navigator, I'll use my own and build audiences off of that. But um, Sales Navigator is great. For those of you listening that don't know what it is, it's really the sales tool on LinkedIn that allows you to really hone in on audiences using a bunch of different filters, and you can save those searches. LinkedIn will let you know when new people get added to those saved searches. You can build discrete lists, stuff like that. So there's plenty of information out there on on YouTube and on LinkedIn to go learn about Sales Navigator. But as I've been building out these audiences, one of the things I've been thinking about is, how do we identify people that are further down the purchase path on LinkedIn that I could identify? So one way would be LinkedIn events. So if you have a direct competitor, or maybe there's an industry organization that's doing a LinkedIn event on a topic that your business solves for, if you go and attend that event, you can see everyone else that's also attending that event. So you could actually start to create a list of people that, using regular LinkedIn search in that event, that are in a certain geography with certain titles, at certain companies, et cetera, and build a list of people that are publicly raising their hand and saying, this is who I am. I'm interested in learning about this topic at this event. And you can actually start building out your own lists of people that are already further down the purchase path than just kind of more of these generic lists on Sales Navigator. Now, again, most of the lists I'm building are on Sales Navigator and they work really, really well. But LinkedIn events are a great way for you to start identifying people that you could start connecting with that are already showing interest in whatever the product and services your company provides. Another one, were you going to say something?
No, I can wait.
Okay. The other one would be,
I can remember what I'm going to say.
Okay. There's another one, or using a person as a proxy. And so there's a woman on LinkedIn who has like 70,000 followers. She talks about, LinkedIn organic posting and when you should post in your personal profile and what it should look like and all that. And I reached out to connect with her. She connected back with me. And because her connections are open, I can use Sales Navigator and I can say, okay, I'm going to pull up Brenda, and I want to see everybody that's a first connection to her, but is a second or third degree connection to me, and that is also a founder or co-founder or a sales director within this geography, and start connecting with those people, knowing that they're most likely connected following her because they're trying to learn how to grow on LinkedIn and they like her LinkedIn growth content. Okay, so I'm using her as a proxy. So those are two ways that I recommend people experimenting with, is looking at your direct competitors or industry organizations' LinkedIn events, and then people as a proxy.
Well, so there's a whole thing to this. So basically what I mean by that is, so if you're B2B is what this sounds to me like this is about, more than B2C.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I would say virtually all of my clients are B2B. Yep.
Yeah. I'm just saying, but if you're a B2C, you might not be able to do the same connections the way you're doing it through LinkedIn.
You might not. I mean, there's been times where I've thought about like BCs and like how they could leverage. It's very possible that there are events that there are high profile people that exist on LinkedIn that might also be posting tons of B2C content on Facebook and Insta and other stuff too. And maybe they're posting stuff on LinkedIn as well, where you could use that person as a proxy, knowing that a lot of people on LinkedIn are B2C, opportunities for you because they're connected to that person. But I think a lot of experimentation would need to be done on that. And I just don't have as much experience in the B2C as I do B2B.
Right. Well, that's okay. This is one thing I was thinking, because I'm more of a B2C than a B2B.
Sure. Yeah.
Unless it, and even with the courses I teach with podcasting and other, that's still a B2C, not a B2B.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. I mean, I think, you just have to, if there's an audience, if there's a way for you to use like Sales Navigator filters on the kinds of people that you would want to be connecting with, then it's still very possible. I know there's, I see real estate people, posting properties. I see them,
Right.
trying to connect with, other, people within their geography. I mean, people need a place to live. That makes a lot of sense. And, if you're doing mortgages and, realtors are a good way for you to connect and build out your own book of business, then connecting with other people that are realtors makes sense. So,
yeah, but they're not as much as it used to be.
Yeah.
Most people come through mortgage people first to find out what they can do. I'd say maybe 25% of the business comes from agents anymore, where it used to be 75% used to come from them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a little different these days.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just I mean, it depends on how you're set up. A lot of us don't like to be worrying about being fed by people, so
Right.
we create our own
Yep.
avenue and our own stuff to get the people beforehand,
Yep.
and we still
Yep.
get those. All right, so we
Yep.
talked about the people on there, how to connect with them.
Yep. So we got philosophy, we got audience, right? So now that you're building out these audiences of people you want to start connecting with, what do you do? Well, the first thing is to start connecting, right? So the way that I set up, Rainmaker for myself and my clients is take those audiences and then reaching out to 25 people a day, Monday through Friday during normal working hours. So 125 people a week, 500 people a month. We're not using a connection message, and we're typically getting a connection rate of 10 to 40%. It really depends on the list. So I will have certain clients, and one list performs at like 11% and another list performs at 34%, right? So it really depends on the kinds of people you're targeting and what types of mutual connections you might already have with some of those people. But on average, I'd say most people kind of end up around the high teens, low 20s in connection rate. If someone doesn't connect within 30 days, then you need to withdraw the invite. And the reason why you want to withdraw the invite is that gives you the opportunity to reach out and ask for that person to connect again in a later date. There's a 3-week period of time in which you can't reconnect with them once you withdraw the invite. But after those 3 weeks are up, you could create these pools of people you could reach back out to. So that is really the foundational thing, is growing out your first connection network, because that is what gives you all the opportunity to build relationship, is getting that first connection, because now you can use different LinkedIn functions to actually start building a relationship with somebody. So that's the first thing, building out those connections, building out your network over time. Then a lot of times we'll bolt on a messaging campaign, and that messaging campaign, that first message then will go out like a day after, 1 to 3 days after the connection's made. And what I am telling people to do is absolutely do not try and sell, but don't even try and help. Just authentic thank for the connection, right? That's it. And just leave it at that. If they respond, the response goes into the LinkedIn inbox and you can take that conversation wherever it goes. If they don't respond, then 7 to 14 days later, second message will go out, and that's where you need to start providing value. Okay, the value could be a question that you're asking. The value could be an asset that your company built out, or maybe there's an asset that got built out by a third party that you think your audience would find really valuable. Maybe you want to invite them to participate in a LinkedIn poll that you're doing, or maybe there's a LinkedIn live stream that you're doing, or maybe there's an offline event that you're doing that you want to invite them to. Okay, there's all kinds of other things that you could start doing to start building relationship with these people. What you don't want to do is turn around and start selling them, asking them to just start booking a meeting with you immediately, right? That's what's going to start turning people off. So it is, I don't know if you've read the book, The Go Giver, but it's all about giving first and not expecting anything in return. And that's what you have to really focus in on. You need to add to the LinkedIn ecosystem. Okay. And so that is what your messaging sequences should all be about, is adding value and not selling.
All right there. So I think most people don't realize, who've been in sales or whatever, that you give to get. And in
Yep.
order to, you can't just ask right away. You have to give a lot of information. That's that whole thing that, what's that? Uh, jab, 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 hook, right hook, or whatever that Gary Vee talks about.
Mhm.
It's no different in sales. I mean, the problem that people have is I'm in Rotary, and people will join Rotary thinking they're going to get business from it. No,
Yep.
you have to put in the time and give a lot. Then people want to know what you do, and then we'll work with you. I've gotten more business from Rotary for not even asking for business, because of the
Yeah.
fact of everything I've done
Yeah.
and stuff I do, just because they like who I am and what I do. And that's how what I'm hearing is they got to get to know you before you can do anything, and let it come naturally before you can
That's
do anything.
that's exactly right. And even beyond like knowing you, like give them something that they're like, oh wow, this is really helpful, or this is really cool, or I want to share this with my boss or my colleague or my partner, right? Like be thoughtful, share stuff. And again, it doesn't have to come necessarily from you. If Google puts something out and it's really, really some cool AI thing that they thought up of, and your audience is really into AI, and that has to do with something that integrates into your service, then share that with those people. That's really what it is for me. And another really wonderful way that I found kind of that sharing and teaching is through LinkedIn live streams. which is another really phenomenal way of growing on LinkedIn. And I can share with you this one-page PDF. I've literally mapped out my entire live stream process, and I'll send that to you after the podcast. But the beautiful thing about it is that when you're using LinkedIn live streams, the number one thing you have to do is identify your audience and a topic. And when you do that and you create the live stream, what you're going to find is whether people are going to attend or not. And if people aren't attending, you know that your audience or your topic or both are off. But if you can get people to start attending, there's a ton of value in that. And so kind of the sequence after you've built out your audience and your topic is to go and create the LinkedIn live stream event in LinkedIn, and then use LinkedIn event invite function to start inviting people to the event. And the great thing about that is, and you can only invite person connections, which is again another reason why you want to continue to grow out your network over time. But with those LinkedIn event invites, they come in as a soft touch. It's like an alert that shows up. It's not right in their face. And as they're going through their alerts, they're going to see that you invited them to this event with the title of the event. They're going to click through, and then they're going to get to the event page, and then they're going to decide, do they want to click attend or not? Once they click attend, they have now taken a positive action toward you, that you can see, number one, who they are. But number two, it's really a vote of confidence. They're saying, I trust you enough and I see you enough as a thought leader, and your topic is compelling enough that I'm going to click attend. And now I know you know who I am, but I want to learn from you from in your live stream. Then when you're sending out, after you're done sending out the LinkedIn event invites, now you're getting people to click the attend button. You're starting to get attendees building up. You do the live stream, and typically I'm doing about a half an hour live stream. When the live stream is over, then I'm following up with all the attendees, and I'm saying, like, hey, Ed, thanks again for registering for the LinkedIn live stream I led this morning. Here's a link to the recording. And that recording lives on that event page forever, right? And I use StreamYard. That's how I'm piping in my live streams into LinkedIn.
I have a question though.
Yep.
Yep. You create the live stream in StreamYard. Do you then go into the LinkedIn and invite people from that page, or how do you do it?
Yeah. So I create the event first in LinkedIn, and then I go into StreamYard and I pull in that live stream event from LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is populating everything inside StreamYard. I don't have to create anything in StreamYard other than just pull in the event, which is really convenient. And then I will start sending out LinkedIn event invites. Again, it's a function built into LinkedIn. You can go and do it manually. I'm automating it through Rainmaker, and I'm sending, max about 100 invites a day for any given event, and per person. And that's what really drives attendance, is when you send out the event LinkedIn event invites. And so you get the attendees, you do the live stream. LinkedIn loves live streams. They're competing against, Facebook and Insta and all these other platforms. They want more people doing live streams, and not a lot of people are doing them. And so highly encourage everyone to really look at that. But LinkedIn will help promote it, right? They'll promote it to your followers, your connections, the attendees. A lot of times if you log into LinkedIn and somebody's doing a live stream, you'll get a notification saying so-and-so is live right now, right? So they're trying to push this. Then the last thing, this is really where the magic is, I think, for any, business that needs to have a conversation before somebody buys from you, which is when I follow up with that message and, sending them a link to the event invite, or sorry, sending them a link to the event recording. Underneath that, I'll say, if you ever want to chat LinkedIn strategy, feel free to grab some time convenient for you here. And I give them my Calendly link. Okay, that is what's wonderful about this process, is that I am creating first connections. I'm creating LinkedIn live streams and creating topics that they're interested in. I'm inviting them to these live streams. They are opting in to attend the live stream. And then I'm following up with a message with a Calendly that doesn't feel salesy or pushy or icky in any way. It's just a natural next step after they've started to digest content that they opted in to from me. And so that whole process, I think, is a really great way for especially B2B to really dive in and share what you know, share your knowledge. You're not selling, you're teaching, but just through that teaching, what you're doing is establishing yourself as a thought leader and giving the opportunity for these people to further that relationship by continuing to talk to you after the events.
Yeah, I can totally see that,
Yep.
because that's why I do lives and do the morning show and the radio show, is to build. I mean, first of all, you become the authority in the industry,
That's right.
and that's what you want to be.
Yep.
How do you get above the noise of everybody else? You become the authority in the industry.
That's exactly
Write a
right.
book, write a book. I got lucky. I wrote a book. I was in a documentary about real estate that was
Mm.
unheard of. I fell into that documentary, and then
Mhm.
I was at traffic and conversion in San Diego. Got talked to a lady that got introduced to her from somebody else that was pretty big, and I told her what I did, and she's like, "I want you in my documentary next weekend. Can you get
Oh,
down
yeah.
for this weekend?" Yeah, so
Of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was in Huntington Beach, and I live in Northern California, so I had to fly back down, which I was
Yeah.
okay with. And
Yep.
yeah, and it was like, friend of mine opened the door and I walked through it and got in there, and then
Yeah.
I wrote my book, and then I've been on radio since 2018. But you got to be careful also being the authority in the industry. Is some people will think you're too big and won't work with them.
Mm. Mm.
You run into that a lot, and that's the same thing what happens on social media. When you start getting a huge following, people will go, well, they don't want to work, they're too big, they just want the big stuff. I saw a lady
Mm.
there on Instagram who dealt with a lot of $1 million properties. Like, I'm losing out on $400,000 and $500,000 business because people think I'm too busy to work with them. That's why I do this stuff, so people can understand. So you have to make sure that when you're doing all this stuff, that you also reiterate that, hey, I'm here to help. And
Mhm.
that's what we had to do on the radio recently is, hey, we're getting people who call us and don't think we're going to call them back. But we say we're here for a reason, to get the information out. And this is educational. And this is to get you to get that information so we can come back and help you eventually.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
yeah. And that's what you have to be okay with and understand, that you're going to lose some people, but you're going to gain more people by doing it.
That's right. Yep. Yep. And I think again, with using, messages and live streams and different ways of posting content, LinkedIn is a monopoly. It's the only business social network out there. And more businesses, I can tell you, are trying to figure it out. And more people are on there. 90% of the people on LinkedIn are lurkers, right? They're not posting content. They're not doing anything, but they are on it. They are accepting connections. They're just not posting. I haven't found a client yet that I haven't been able to build connections for. So your prospects are on LinkedIn. It's continuing to grow. I do think it's a great place to put time and effort and money into, because your prospects, your clients, your kind of growth opportunity, I think, does live there.
And I think it's important to have your profile correct and up to date.
That's yeah. Having your company page and personal profile up to date, accurate, looking nice, like that's table stakes. If you're not doing it, you're
I think it's more important to have your personal page updated, because there's two pages. There's the company page, and if you're a founder of that company, there's also your page. Two
Mhm.
separate things, because eventually, if you sell your company, you're going to be by yourself. And you're going to have to start all over. So
Right.
you need to be building both brands at the same time. I'm in the mortgage industry. I knew this years ago. Because it's not who you work for; they're coming to you. And if you
Right.
own the business, that's something totally separate. You still want to keep it separate in case you want to sell it, or if you have to unfortunately close it for some reason.
Mhm.
You want to have that separation.
Agreed. Yep. Agreed.
So with all this that you do, do you guys, and this is just me because I deal with them a lot, go high level. Do you use that at all? Do you know of them?
I know of it very
Because
superficially, but
you
yeah.
use Calendly. I mean, it's a better software for all that stuff. So
Mm,
the reason I'm saying that,
okay.
it's a CRM that's on steroids. Um,
Okay.
that if for what you're building and what I'm hearing, because to connect with everybody on there and do certain things, you could automate it with you might be building this out, but you can automate it through their SaaS, which is you can white label it and do everything else
Hmm.
to speed this up for other people. But I don't know. I don't want to take away from what your business is and what you're building out. So
Oh yeah. I don't know a lot about that.
yeah, check it out,
About
because
okay.
you might be building something that's already there, and then you can
Okay.
just label it and still be yours.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I'll check it out.
Because I like everything you got to get connected for this podcast, all the
Mhm.
reminders and everything, that's high level.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's clean and easy. Everything when they started that company in 2019, whatever their clients asked for, they did.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody voted on it, and so they built it out, and it's a great for marketing and everything else, but to stay in contact with, because the posts that you're talking about and certain things the same with people, you can build that in, and you can build in the responses. Like if you want to know more about this type wealth, to this, and it will do all that automation all the way through. And stay connected with them. So you could set up a whole email chain that you want happening every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it is, automatically set up once you connect with them.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
I don't know your whole software that you're using. I know you're using Sales Navigator. I assume that's inside of LinkedIn.
Yeah. Sales Navigator's inside LinkedIn. Yeah. Rainmaker, the software that, and process that we have, is really just automating things within LinkedIn to allow you to reach scale.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it, because it's a lot of work, so you need something to help you.
Agreed.
Yeah,
agreed. Yeah.
I would like to get into more, but we already been here for 40 minutes, and I try to keep these at 30. So,
sounds good.
I might have to have you come back. Are you writing a book or anything coming out?
I am not writing a book right now. Nope, I'm just focused on building Rainmaker out, and we'll see.
So when you get to the point where it's even bigger, and can I have you come back and we can?
Oh yeah, I'd love to. Absolutely.
Explain more where it's at and how to do it. And you have my email. Keep me up to date. Put me in your little stuff what you're doing, because I know a lot of people who are in business who are trying to understand LinkedIn that I could send you away. So
yeah, would love that. I'll absolutely do that.
All right. Anything else you want to add? How do people find you if they want to get help on this?
Yeah, so if you go to rainmakergrow.com, that's the website. You can learn about Rainmaker. The free consultation button goes directly to my Calendly, and I'm the only Colin Hirdman on LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out. I do love chatting about stuff. Happy to talk to anybody anytime.
It's nice having those unique last names, isn't it?
It does.
I'm at Parcaut everywhere. There isn't another one. Thank God.
Yep. I love it.
All right, Colin, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
My pleasure.